Hi, Scott Houston here. Hey, in a really recent previous video, I went over how to figure out, what key would be the right key to sing a tune in if you were trying to sing it or you're trying to figure it out for someone you're going to help accompany. And now I'm going to do a little kind of inverse of that, or maybe a little twist on that, and say, what if a singer comes up to you and starts singing a tune in some key, and then as a piano player, they want you to start playing along with them. Say, hey, let's do it in this key, even if they don't know what key it is? Well, that's what I'm going to figure out in this little video. I've got a quick tip I can give you that'll really nail that to the wall. Okay, so the question becomes, if a singer walks up to you and just starts singing a tune, or maybe you're just humming a tune, and you've, gotten through the whole thing, and you say, that works well for me where I'm singing it. I can get all the way to the highest notes of the song, and I can get all the way to the lowest notes of the song, which is the whole idea of making sure a tune is within your range, right? I mean, remember from that other video, if you haven't seen it yet, and by the way, I'll put a link to it in the comments here, but remember the issue is that any particular song, as the melody works its way up and down through a song, it's going to have some distance. Who knows what it is, but there's going to be some highest and lowest note of a song. And then what you have to make sure is that where it is you're singing, if say this was the high and that was the low note, you need to make darn sure that in your voice you can sing this low and this high, right? So it's this function. And if you can't, and say your range was from this note to this note, then you'd need to take wherever it was you're singing and shift it down. I mean, the whole idea, you just got to get every note in the melody within the highest and lowest notes you can sing, or in other words, your range. Okay, so again, now we're playing a game of a singer is singing a tune, just humming it or whatever, and they're walking up to you, and they'd love for you to start accompanying them. You've got to figure out what tune they're singing it in, or maybe you're at a rehearsal or something, right? So here's how you go about it. When someone starts singing the tune, just stick with them and get all the way to the end of the tune. And the key is figure out what the very last note is that they're singing, and whatever that is, whatever that last note is, that is highly likely going to be the key of the tune. Really, I know it sounds like magic, but the reality is that if you play a major chord based on whatever that last note is, say the last note's a B flat. If you played a B flat major triad, and it sounds right, and it kind of sounds complete, if you will, then it's super likely that the key that singer is singing in is in B flat. And then you'll have to figure out and do the transposing to figure out the chords for that key, and we'll talk about that in a second. But let me just make this point. Okay. So say someone out of the blue comes up and says, we're going to sing the Star Spangled Banner, and I want to start singing it here, oh, say, can you see? And they go on through the whole thing, right? Well, that's what you need to do is work your way through it to get to the very last note of the tune. So you're thinking, and you don't necessarily have to play it either, although that would be fine, but you need to just work your way all the way to the end of it, right? So there's the lowest note so far again, and then that part repeats, and then you go, what, on the rockets, red glare? So it goes all the way up to there, right? And again, they started singing on this note. This was the first note they sang on, just to give you an idea here, right? And I'm just trying to get to the end of the tune. Here we go. Of the brave. So you got to the very last note of the tune, and it was a C note. So now play a C chord with that. And did that sound kind of like finished and kind of the way it was played? Home of the brave. Yeah, that sounds kind of right. It wasn't like, and the home of the brave. No, that's not the end. Or home of the brave. It's and the home of the like, yes, we're done. It's a sense of completion, right? Well, that is a C. That means the key that she was singing, or we were just playing this tune in, was in the key of C. The first note wasn't a C, it was actually a G in this case. And if you want to really confirm it, start the tune using it with the same note you started on, because almost every tune not only ends on the key on a chord that is the key it is, probably 60 or 70% also start that way. Not everyone, but most of them do that. So say, oh, Yep, that's right. Right, that definitely sounds like it's in the right thing. So that's how you do it. Now let me just test that on another one just to show you something that's not in C. I obviously intentionally figured that one out so I could show it to you in C to be simple. But let's just say somebody walks up and you're singing Christmas carols or something, and they come up and sing, I don't know what, they start singing Jingle Bells, and right there, or go up and right, Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. And you're just singing through it again. You're just singing through trying to get to the end. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. That's right. So you're going to find that note, right? That's the note that the tune ends on. Well, that's an E, so play an E major chord with it and see if it sounds right. Yep, it does. And it's just amazing. 99.5% of the time. I mean, just overwhelmingly, that will work. And again, if you want to really check it, about 60 or 70% of the time, it'll also be the first chord of the tune. So you can try it. Remember, that's where we started playing Jingle Bells, was on this note. So play it with whatever key you determine and see if it sounds right at the very beginning, because almost every tune starts on the root key that it is, right, or on the root chord of whatever key it is. That's it. Ta-da! So now you know that's in the key of E, right? So there you go. That's how you do it. You find out if you're ever, singing something, and you want to know what key you happen to be singing it in, work your way all the way to the end of the tune, right, the very end of the tune, and then whatever that very last melody note is, try making that the root of a major chord and see if that doesn't sound right, and it almost always will, and if that's the case, you've got yourself the key of the tune. Little magic trick right there, huh? Really, it works. So I hope that helps you out, maybe get you out of a jam or clears something up for you, and you can use it and throw that in your bag of tricks. But as always, have fun playing piano.